It's the Improv Session Podcast. It's the Improv Session Podcast. It's the Improv Session Podcast. It's the Improv Session Podcast with Stephen Pearlstein.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Improv Obsession Podcast. I'm your host, Stephen Pearlstein, and today on the show, very special guest, Chris Kula.
Hello, Stephen. Thanks for having me over.
Thank you for being here. I'm an LA person first, so I know you as from the Smokes.
Mm-hmm.
But also, if you're familiar with the New York scene, you might know Chris from Police Chief Rumble, and then other stuff that I don't know.
Which I can bring you up to speed on.
Please, let's hear it.
Police Chief Rumble was my first Herald team.
Yeah.
A dozen years ago.
Is that right?
It was 2002 when we started. That was with people like Charlie Sanders and Katie Dippold, Will McLaughlin, who were all around. Bobby Moynihan was on that group. It was great. And we did, I think, a solid 2 years together.
Yeah.
In which time we also put a sketch show together, spent way too much time together.
Yeah.
Like there was a point in our sort of early formation we were doing, I think, 5 out of 7 nights, something Police Chief Rumble related.
Yeah. You guys did like a little blog on the Improv Resource Center for 1,000 years ago.
Yeah.
And there was like, the schedule of it was insane. It was like, it'd be like Herald night and then like practice and then our like sketch and then you do the sketch show and then like another practice and then like notes on the sketch. It was like,
it was crazy and also the perfect thing to be doing when you were 23.
Yeah.
And having, no other life, no girlfriend, a day job that you could like completely mentally check out on. So we treated it like, grad school basically. Like do something every night.
And that group, everybody in that group is doing some stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a testament to it somehow working.
Yeah, you wouldn't have known it from our first couple of shows, or maybe even our last couple of shows.
Why do you say that? Are you guys rough or what?
We didn't follow rules so much.
Yeah.
It's really funny because everyone in the group was really good on their own, did plenty of improv beyond that point and was a good, smart, capable, versatile improviser. But for some reason, the DNA of when they put that group together, it just led to the most, clusterfucky celebrity impression walk-ons. If you ever came to one of our Del Close marathon shows, we started doing recurring characters, which typically you don't see in improv. It's Sideways Dracula, he's back again. Now it's time for Sinbad to come on and do a set. We had like our set stable of characters, which will still come out from time to time if you come out to an LA Police Chief Rumble show.
Oh yeah. I caught one at, was it the 11th Hour show, which was so great, but also that was the first time I'd seen Police Chief Rumble, but I knew like these characters.
What did you heard? Like, because I think
I had known the basics of it because I've read enough about and kind of heard enough about Police Chief Rumble, but I knew the recurring character thing was a thing, so I kind of knew when it was happening. Like Will McLaughlin did the one; it was like a police officer something.
Steve Castle.
It's so not improv. It's like it's Steve Castle.
Yeah, Steve Castle had a long backstory. I think he started as an investigative journalist, but then got too close to a story and became like a vigilante type character.
So not only is it a recurring character, maybe it's not, but I like to think of it as an episodic character.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, this character's story has not been finished, and we will see the end of it one day.
So true. And there's been crossovers at this point. Steve Castle met Robot Roy, which is one of Charlie Sanders' famous characters. We love that group. And we'll still do like an occasional show in LA.
Yeah.
The new thing in LA, if you come see Police Chief Rumble, is you're always going to get Elvis introduces the band.
Yeah.
That's the format.
Oh, yeah, that was weird. I remember not understanding what's going on, but enjoying it.
I mean, you were taken aback that out of nowhere, apropos of nothing, an Elvis concert started in which Will McLaughlin introduces everyone in the band about 6 times over.
Yeah.
And we're all playing mimed instruments that make no sense. So back there on the Chinese glockenspiel is my child bride. And he's pretty much the only person, I think, who could like pull it off the way he does.
He's very funny. It was such a funny.
Yeah.
Oh man, that was such a good show. When are you guys doing another one?
We'll probably do like our biannual show.
Yeah.
We'll do like every twice a year. We'll get together and do something like that. I think that's all that
you can afford of that insanity.
Yeah.
That's great. That's great. I love it. Why? Okay, so let's let's hop into that a little bit. Why are you guys so weird? Like, I mean, because it does sound like you said, like all capable people just decided in that configuration to get pretty loose with it. Yeah, recurring characters.
When we were young, we tried our best to be good, and it just, I mean, just wasn't in the cards for that group. We'd get notes, and it would just be, guys, you gotta play things real. Like, that part where Scottie Pippen walked into the TGI Fridays that Philip Roth, the famous author, owns, that wasn't real. So it just, for some reason, it just, wasn't in the cards. And then as we sort of like got older, we just started leaning into that.
Yeah.
Like, all right, we're going to be the group that was absolutely retarded.
Yeah.
And that's what we enjoy most when we play that show.
That's great.
And I think, like I said, everybody else went on to other groups where we did better improv.
Yeah.
That actually followed rules and
for
structure.
sure.
So it was just I
don't know. I guess that's, I mean, if nothing else, like clearly it works. Like you leaned into, the bad of the show, trying to make it good. Like, I guess there's something there. Right?
Yeah. Especially, when you're only performing once a year at a Del Close Marathon.
Right.
To give the people what they want, which is Sinbad.
Yeah. I think we've all been wanting more Sinbad in our improv. That's great. Okay, so let's rewind in time a little bit. How did you find UCB and improv?
I was in Michigan, went to school, grew up there, went to U of M, and always wanted to be a comedy writer, and never did any kind of performing. Was terrified of that.
Yeah.
But as school was finishing up and I was going to plan to move to New York, I'd just been, I loved obviously your SNL and your late night stuff and Conan at the time. It was like, oh God, all those writers have some sort of improv background. And I could see the writing on the wall, like, oh God, I'm gonna have to do this improv, aren't I? Like, it had never been something I, again, terrified of performing. So I saw one show in Second City, Detroit, and it was kind of like, oh boy, it was all like local street name puns, and it was exactly what that audience wanted. But I was like, oh, this doesn't seem like something that I'm really into. Yeah. And then I visited New York, I think during the spring break of my senior year, and saw an ASCAT show. Okay. I was like, oh, like at the 22nd Street Theater. Yeah. I was like, oh, that makes complete sense. I could do that.
This is like good at stuff. Yeah.
I could. It just seemed like people, on the same page, helping each other be funny. It wasn't about how quick and witty can you be. And it was like, oh, this is exactly what I like doing with my friends. Yeah. In the best situation. So, okay, this is what I'm going to do. And so I moved to New York in August 2001. Was looking for a day job. About 3 weeks later, 9/11 happened. Yeah. Parents, of course, were completely
just like,
I thought comedy was over. I thought that dream of, going to I thought, like, we'll never laugh again. And luckily, I ended up getting a job, and then classes started back up again in like October of that year. And I took Sean Conroy's level 1, and basically treated it like, all right, I'm gonna do this for my grad school. Yeah, I'm gonna approach this like I'm going off to New York and doing comedy something every night. And, eventually overcame my dry mouth fear of performing. I mean, I was terrible. Really? The first couple loves, yeah. It was just not something that came naturally at all. So I had to. I mean, I would just flop sweat, sitting in the back of class, hoping I wouldn't have to go, hoping the hour would be up before I'd have to get up. Yeah. And then I guess you just, little by little, there's like, breakthroughs like, oh, okay, you just have to do this. Oh, you just have to, speak to the truth of the scene. And you don't have to come up with anything. And okay. And then little by little, able to tackle that.
Would you say that, I mean, I have no clue, in the early performing of your improv career, like, the biggest problem for you was just being afraid to do it or afraid to be on stage, that type of thing?
Definitely not having performance chops. Like, I had the biggest problem projecting. I got that note all the time. Like, dude, what you're saying is funny. No one can hear you. Yeah. The first row, maybe. Beyond that. Like, so, I mean, I just was not a, trained performer in any way. Yeah. Which also, it was like, you get a good idea, and it's just not having, like, the confidence to immediately get out, take the stage, control the scene, and get it out. Yeah. And that really took some, repetition and in a couple of years of, like, if the theater was structured then as it is now, the way you really have to be completely ready to own the stage when you get on a Herald team.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have made it more than like a couple shows.
Yeah.
I was so green and just not a, seasoned performer. Like they would have been like, you could probably stand for a few more classes. And I'd have been like, you're right. I just happened to get on at a time when you could kind of, skate by a little bit more. There was a little more leniency.
Huh.
Thank God I did. I don't know how things would be different now.
I know, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what happened to poor Chris Kula?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's see. So if you're a little bit of getting the performance chops going and stuff, did the improv part of it, like, what was the development on that side? Like, I mean, was it fairly clear? Like, oh, game, I get that, or like, was this kind of all kind of?
I mean, because I definitely approached it with a writer's mind.
Yeah.
And that was maybe another problem, was trying to write scenes too much.
Sure.
Of like, well, they won't follow me because this is what I'd set out, and now I'm all lost.
Yeah.
Because my brilliant premise I didn't get it across or whatever.
Yeah.
And kind of having to throw that in the back seat a little bit, and like, oh, we should just react and just be more in the moment. Oh, that's how you do this.
Yeah.
Which was great. I mean, obviously that's the key to a good scene. But like game, I always like, oh, well, here's the funny thing. Let's do that and a little different this time, which is how I'd always approach, writing.
Yeah.
I think it was obviously good for my development as a writer to have the improv background of writing on your feet and tightening up a thing as you go. And God, I don't know where I'd be without that now.
Yeah. That's interesting. So you'd already been writing before you ever getting to like UCB and improv.
Yeah. I'd written lots of things. Clearly, I'm really
professional writer.
Yeah. In school, I wrote a humor column in the newspaper, so I thought I was like, the next Dave Barry or something. And thankfully, got opened up to a little more, satirical stuff. When I moved to New York, I got into, The Onion a lot, and eventually got to, start writing sketch at UCB. PCR did our sketch show.
Right.
I started writing my own blog, like in the early days of having a dedicated blog,
Yeah.
just trying to, not so much the self-introspective, diary type blog, but like writing humor content for an audience. I was never into just, I write for myself. Like, no, I always want to write to be seen, to have other people see this.
Yeah.
Continued on that until eventually opportunities came where I was getting paid to write.
Yeah.
And that's all I ever wanted to do. The improv and the performance was all, by that point, a fun bonus.
Yeah.
To do stuff with your friends at the best comedy theater in the world. But it had always been, I want to write for a living. I need to do this stuff to further that. All right, let's go about doing that.
That's really cool. Okay, let's hop into writing then, since we're kind of on that, and then maybe we'll go back to improv.
Mm-hmm.
We're 12 minutes in. I'm going into writing. I love it. This is not an improv podcast anymore. Okay, so so you're writing. How about now? What makes a sketch worth writing? Like, I know that's maybe a tough, a weird question, but like, why would you write an idea?
Because I'm getting paid for it.
Okay. How about this? How about what's a sketch that you'd want to write? Like, let's ignore the fact that we get paid to do it, and you do. Like what you have to do.
It's a tough question, because if you're going to just do something as a labor of love, it better be an idea that really sustains itself through whatever the format is, whether that's a spec pilot or a screenplay or just a 3-page sketch. You better really think like, all right, there's a reason I'm sitting down to do this. I better really believe in it. And sometimes that's why I'm saying getting paid or working, a job helps. You're like, well, it doesn't matter if I believe this or not. You gotta
do it.
This. Yeah.
Yeah.
My manager would tell you I need to just sit down and get more things done, whether I believe in them or not. It's true, like starting any kind of project is so hard, because it's just that blank page and, all right, I got to fill this up, to the point whenever I do finish like a longer type of piece of writing, I'm like, how did I do that?
Yeah.
Really, it's like, I vaguely remember I had some ideas and I started working, but like you get to, 30 pages done. You're like, Jesus Christ! Like, how did I do this?
Where did all this come from?
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm trying to think about the last thing I wrote specifically for me.
Yeah.
It's a tough one. Here's an example. When I was working at Funny or Die, you pretty much got to do your passion projects. Whether those were, people making their own movie parody trailers like Eric Appel sort of did and carved out a name for himself doing that.
Yeah.
Or, starring in your own videos, like writing stuff for you to play. They didn't have anybody doing sports stuff, and I love sports, so I got to, sort of approach things from that perspective. All right, I want to do something with the NFL draft, so I wrote something for that. I want to do something. Hank Azaria wants to make a video with this baseball announcer character. Great, I'll write up something for that. So I guess having an area you're interested in helps.
Yeah.
Versus what would people like, and trying to anticipate what an audience is going to like, as opposed to just like, I want to do this. I think it's funny.
Yeah.
I want to do it.
Yeah. I've definitely tried to do that thing of like what people will like, and that's like scanning the first 200 posts of Reddit and like what's on the news, and if there's any popular blog, I'm like, oh, what are they talking about?
I mean, which is a good exercise.
Yeah.
I used to teach a topical writing workshop. It was like a 4-week class, because I found like a lot of the opportunities I did get to write something professionally were a topical project, riffing on something in the news or making monologue jokes about current news events or doing parodies of, stuff, movies, TV that's prominent now. So it is a good muscle to have. And that's basically what the class focused on, was sitting down with just the newspaper or, now it would be, Reddit, the page of the internet, and figuring out like, all right, what is that thing that is going to make a statement on something that's of the moment?
Yeah.
So it's not a bad strategy at all.
No, it's not. It's tough, but it's tough because those are the ones where I think it's easy to not believe in them. At least personally, I'm like, yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of just saying a thing about it or like whatever. I guess maybe it's just that it's for me personally, it's more rare to find something that I actually have a strong opinion on or to drive after it, or more likely to just get the verse. I'm like, this would be like funny, right? Like,
yeah, like if I change this word, it's gonna be a pun that sort of makes a sketch.
Yeah.
But whether you want to devote the next 3 hours of writing and 2 days of shooting to make that happen is another thing.
Yeah.
I think that's what The Onion did really well. I wrote for them when they first started doing their video stuff.
Yeah.
And it was a good exercise, and there always had to be a clear satirical take on whatever you're doing. So there'd be some ideas we'd pitch, and they wanted so many ideas. It would be like, 25 idea submissions per week. And that's how they've done the newspaper, and that's how they went about doing the video thing, where you'd have a funny idea, and it'd be like, well, it's funny, but like, what's the target? Like, well, I don't know, funny dancers? Like, do we really need to take them down a peg? Can we maybe focus on someone in power or someone who's being wrong? It's like, yeah, you're right. Like,
yeah.
So I think what you're talking about is finding that target to the sketch that's going to actually say something, or like, especially if you're talking like satire or parody. It's like, oh, we can make a satire of this Step Up 4, taking it to the streets, and it'll be fine. Or you can, is there a way to merge that with, Step Up : Ferguson? Is there like,
yeah,
or something that you actually want to, bring to light or voice?
Yeah, that is tough too, because I did the Onion. They do their like submissions for internships, and I've done that a couple times, and you do it, you work on it, and you're like, holy shit, this is like a really just you realize how like smart it is that at least that satire angle of like a funny idea isn't enough.
Yeah.
And it's like, I think like one of my favorites was something like mother of two joylessly bites into string cheese. And I was like, yeah, it's funny, but it's just like, it's not quite there. It's not quite oniony. Like, it won't work. But and that's kind of like why publications like that are so good, because they actually have like a thing that they're going after that's more than like, nee.
Yeah. And they have a ton of things to choose from to get it down to that one thing that works. The hit and miss rate of what they would approve versus what got submitted is like the ratio is insane.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm sure I didn't see it, but what did you write for The Onion?
I know one of my favorite videos was trying to get the headline right. Make-A-Wish Foundation bankrupted by child's wish for unlimited wishes. And he was treating it like a real abuse of power. Like,
it's pretty funny.
We're going to, he's wished for a in-service F-14 Tomcat and daily visits from members of the New York Yankees, and we're going to grant those wishes, but it's costing, we are bankrupt. But he wished
found
for
a loophole.
it. He found a loophole. And it was like a...
That's brilliant.
And we're going to fulfill his wishes until, hopefully he dies.
Hopefully. Oh, that's the best.
And he was framed on the morning show format they did, where it was these cheery anchors like, you won't believe this story we're hearing about this little guy.
Oh, that's great.
I really enjoyed that one.
That's fantastic. Okay. Let's see. I'm trying to... how long... when you're writing a sketch... from first of an idea, or what does an idea look like for you when you decide to pursue it? I guess I'm trying to keep it outside of work, although feel free to incorporate it as you want. But you know what I mean? Like, you have an idea, you're like, oh yeah, this is funny. Like, how long? What's that process kind of look like for you?
My first step will be, once I've got sort of a premise in mind, I'll just start on that first page, sort of free associating. These are possible beats. These are possible even just lines of dialogue within these beats. Here's a place it could go. Here are some even just jokes that I know will fit into the format. Just try and do like a mind download of anything that might help. Because at that point, it's still too early to start going, okay, I want this to happen to this, because you might be limiting yourself. So I try and keep it, wide open, give myself a lot of possibilities, and then sort of in that beautiful mind, start to see, okay, this is going to
see the
camp out in my room and put some tinfoil on my head and run the...
cut open your arm. It's a good...
I'm pretty... I know some people just like to shit out a draft and be like, cool, I'll revise after that. I'm pretty meticulous in how once I do get down to structuring the sketch, I want that first draft to be well thought out.
Yeah.
I don't just I'll get something down and then rewrite it 6 times. I kind of want to feel really solid about it, and it might take me a little longer.
Yeah.
But then I know, all right, I've really put some thought into how this is heightening, what if it's in the right order, if it's not heightening enough, and I know if I'm going to get notes back on it, it's going to be hopefully just some minimal punches. And not major structural stuff.
This is crap. Yeah.
So I'd rather spend the time up front in really laying it out and thinking about it before I start writing than just writing with my hands or thinking with my hands.
Yeah, that's I totally agree with that, and it's I feel like when I'm writing, or when I've because I do plenty of I got the idea, I'll just write. And those are more often the ones that I stop writing after a page and a half, because I'm like, oh, what the hell is this? And also more likely to just not get continued because I kind of don't believe in it anymore. Whereas the ones where you're you kind of start with a pile of things that you can oh, I know I can do stuff, or when things aren't working, or when it's a little bit rough, you can kind of go back to that and actually go, oh yeah, I know what I was doing. I'm not crazy.
Totally. And that's also the reason that writing in a group is a great benefit too, because you can do that group brainstorm at the top, I'm thinking something like this, and you get everyone's input, whether or not you end up taking it or not. It's great to get other pitches and ideas that you could, or it's basically up to you as the head writer of that sketch to take or leave whatever you want. And then if it's not working, you can come back to that group and be I'm stuck right here. Do anybody? And then might end up with a new idea that you hadn't come across before. So I like doing both. I like writing individually. I like writing with groups. It just has to be the right mix. I don't want to get into a situation where you're writing 6 people over your shoulder and everyone's trying to decide on it should be within, no, it should be beneath, or individual word syntax. That's going to drive me nuts. Which unfortunately you get into sometimes in writers' rooms, where there's a writer's assistant doing it, and you've got a group gangbang happening where
Yeah.
it's
Very slow.
oh, super slow, the worst. So I'd much rather just get everyone's input and then, all right, I got it. Thanks everybody. I'm gonna go make sense of this.
Yeah, that's I guess it's because there's like in writing there's a ton of micro decisions that are basically of no consequence or
Right.
like will kind of get naturally brushed up in the process of it, but all those micro decisions just get like a spotlight on it. Every person's there, and it's like, I don't know if that's quite the right word. And you're like, yeah, I don't know that it matters. Like in this 3-minute sketch, that one word will not matter. I
Right.
promise you. And then all the jokes are gonna gloss over if it should be within or without, whatever the fuck.
Yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
sometimes you just have to grin and bear it in those situations and
Yeah.
hopefully try and be political enough that you don't offend anybody.
That's very admirable. I'm usually just grumpy and be like, yeah, I don't want to do this. People don't like me. That's great. So what is so right now you're working on At Midnight, correct? What is the like? Well, what are you specifically doing on that? You're working on jokes, sketches.
We write all of the things that Hardwick says
Yeah.
in terms of, the structure for the first act and the cold open of whatever the topical stories are, and then all of the sort of questions or, games that are posed to the comedians. We write all that in advance too.
Yeah.
So, games like one of my favorites, just because I have a sweet spot for morning zoo radio, is which of these is a real morning zoo team, and it'll be like DJ and the Beef or Scully and the Grizz, and the prove out is one of their actual real Facebook pages where it's like them judging the Hooters bikini contest down in Cocoa Beach or something. So
That's fantastic.
yeah, that's a job that pays money.
Hey man, somebody's got to do it.
Yep.
So coming up, that has always interested me as like a refillable bit like that, like those are games or that. This is a dumb question. How do you do those? How do you come up with those?
A lot of that is looking at the internet and just doing research, trying to find a pattern of like, all right, I've seen enough of this trend in Yelp reviews. Can I maybe turn this into a bit?
Yeah.
Like I did one that was, is this a review for a comedy club or a review for a strip club? And they
Yeah.
were all like surprisingly similar. Like, is this a 1-star shitty review for like, don't go to this place, the bitches be puking everywhere. Could be either.
That's funny.
So just like finding, it's basically, same thing as finding the game in an improv scene, like boiling it down to like, all right, this is the one thing that sticks out. This is the unusual thing. I'm going to try and find a pattern among these.
Yeah.
And instead of coming up with them on my own, I'm going to be looking for research that sort of fits the mold of that. And
Yeah.
now I've established a pattern. I got to find some real, it's like documentary work. I got to find the real things that fit into this pattern.
Yeah. Ugh. Okay.
Yeah, that's pretty appropriate response because it can be like super time consuming.
Yeah.
And tedious, like going through pages and pages of Yelp reviews.
Yeah.
To find the one little pull quote that works.
Yeah.
So,
well, it vaguely reminds me of like being in college and like writing an essay that you're like, I just need something to make this seem true. I just need one sentence,
need one quote,
and I'll make this bullshit essay work.
Which I imagine now it's got to be super easy with the internet, right? Can't you fabricate or make up a bibliography that you never even crack just because you can do like almost a search
you can
for
do almost everything online. I think there's even like a Google Scholar search, and it would search like publications and
famous
like
quotables. Wow.
like journals, all that stuff, and you can really kind of find a. But again, it's tough because then because it's such a wide swath of stuff. You have to get like a pretty exact like. ISIS is good. You need somebody to have said that.
Yeah, right.
Which, that's what I write about. I'm not in college. I'm going to throw that out there. I don't know why that felt important for me to say, but I want to say that I'm not in college.
Congrats.
Thanks, man. Okay. So, I like this. What about... are you working on any longer form stuff? You don't have to we don't have to get into details of it, but do you do longer?
Yeah, I try and work on. I've written several half-hour pilots, stuff that I've sold or have not sold, and
Yeah.
I'm always continuing on that, always trying to develop other stuff to pitch, and that's a whole process in itself. Working up just a pitch versus actually scripting out the full pilot. And there's benefits to either or. So I have not written a full screenplay yet. That's sort of the next thing I know I have to tackle. But that's the ultimate. Like, do you have an idea that can sustain itself over 90 pages? That's
it's hard.
It's a whole other beast.
No, I get it.
So yeah, you can understand my sort of putting that off.
Yeah, that's a real challenge. But then again, if you're like, I was kind of thinking, like, if you're writing I think writing a TV show or pilot is harder because that's like saying this idea can sustain itself for seasons.
True. Yeah, sure.
And then, but like a movie, I can just kind of like, everybody kind of gets happy at the end.
Yeah, that's true.
Which is what movies do, right?
That is sometimes like you have an idea for something and it becomes the other pretty easily. Where you're like, oh, this is a great show. And you're like, no, this is a self-contained one-off movie.
It ends. There's a beginning and ending. Yeah, it's a
there's
little harder.
There's nothing wrong with that. Just as long as you're aware, you don't beat yourself up trying to make it something it's not, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
Or, you know, trying to give what should be a weekly, week in, week out sitcom premise stakes of a film, you know?
Yeah.
Says the guy who has not finished a screenplay, so really knows what he's talking about.
Hey man, don't worry about it. I say things that like I have no business speaking about all the time on this. This is the show. Let's go back to speaking about things I have no business speaking about. Let's talk about improv a little bit more. The thing, one thing that I think of particularly with you that I just see a lot is I'm like, the fucking balls on this guy. Just because,
really,
I mean that in a nice way, because I'm always like impressed with, or regularly impressed with, like how just like fearlessly will do moves, or like one that particularly comes into mind was like Billy, you and Billy were like Cajun dudes, and he told you to go down to Miami, and then you just like you pulled a chair out and then like pretended to drive for like 45 seconds. You're finding somebody. And then, like, you pulled the chair back and went to Billy and he's like, I didn't find him. And I was like, that's a ballsy fucking move to just sit there for 45 seconds.
Nobody else. This is all me.
It was great. Yeah. It was great. But I remember thinking, and also I just remember thinking the whole time, I'm like, nobody's going to do it. How is everybody letting this happen?
Right.
Ballsy of everybody else to let it happen.
I think, that's kind of speaks to, an ensemble that sort of knows.
Yeah.
I think, and sometimes you'll make a move like that where you're like, oh, I got this great thing. I just want to be alone. I have an idea that is going to be me on stage doing whatever, and then somebody will come out and you're like, well, that changes things, or vice versa. You got an idea, you want somebody out there and no one comes out. It's just, sometimes
done both of those. They're both a little heartbreaking.
Yeah, right. And sometimes you get lucky and everything goes exactly as you'd wanted it to.
Yeah.
So
well, for saying somebody like it doesn't, it felt like they initially had performer's chops or whatever. But doing stuff like that's like tough. I don't know, like I don't want to say it, like how do you do it? But like what do you attribute that to? Like why is that something that you're comfortable doing?
I would chalk it all up to playing with people that I'm comfortable with.
Yeah,
having friends on stage, people who sort of know what you're about as a performer, and vice versa.
Yeah,
I at this point I really pretty much only perform with people like with close friends.
Yeah.
And as such, I'm relaxed and comfortable, and you don't really think twice. It's like, is this right? Is this gonna fuck? You're just like, I'm just playing. In other formats where you're, a little more on edge, maybe you wouldn't be as, or maybe I certainly personally wouldn't be as ballsy. Of like,
sure.
I'm gonna just fuck around, and hopefully they get it, because you'd be a little more, conscientious of people who don't know you as well, or aren't used to you, and be on your better behavior, I guess.
That's interesting. See, I almost feel the opposite, because when I'm playing with people I don't know, I'm like, I don't know, I just might as well have to do something. Like, we're gonna see what happens here. But when like you start to know somebody really well, and you're like, I want to make sure that they get their thing across. I feel like I play more cautionate with people, the more friendly I am with people. It's very weird.
Because you are friends with them and you want to remain friends and
not
fuck them over on stage.
Yeah. I'm a monster on stage. I'm constantly fucking people over. I'm like, that's a weak choice. But that's my style. The thing too is like and like Billy talks about this a lot too, is like I almost said cowboy ninja bear, and that's not a thing. That's a version of rock paper scissors. It's
Cowboy ninja bear.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take ninja in all of those, I think.
Yeah, you're out of you. Well, it's like rock paper scissors. So
I'm going with the ninja's ability to stealthily incapacitate a bear or a cowboy. Was it?
Yeah. The thing is that a ninja's like, what's a bear? I think that's the logic behind it, and it just gets mauled to death. But the cowboy's like, boom, I shot the bear, I know. And ninjas masters of fighting, so obviously they'll beat the cowboy. That was mostly a game that I played with my little brother and sister, where we'd walk paces and then pretend to be bear cowboys or ninjas.
So the physical element to
it's a physical rock paper scissors.
Good. Kids need to be more active. We have too much childhood obesity.
Play 30. That's what I say.
You're talking about Billy's pirate robot or ninja?
Yes, exactly. Like, talks to you, often holds you up as the ninja, doing like small things in scenes, and I think that's like a fair assessment of like doing like small but very helpful things in scenes. I guess like, so those to me are like almost like maybe like writerly moves or setup moves or things like that. How do you keep, maybe this is it, how do you keep that type of thing in mind where you're like, I want to make sure that, we get back to Katie's game, like Katie did something funny, how can we do that again? Or what are you thinking, like, to get those?
I've always enjoyed, I guess you'd call it like the big picture of form stuff. I guess maybe it is a writerly thing where you're sort of looking at how is this all going to connect, or how are these things similar, or wouldn't this be a good callback? Stuff that you're always doing in a script, it just sort of appealed to me. So when I stopped doing like the really set herald structure, I was in a group called Reuben Williams in New York. That was a group we put together as a practice group. We were all on other herald teams. We wanted to do something beyond just the set herald structure, and that allowed us to be a little more free with our forms and following the funny as opposed to following a structure. And then as a result, you start building your own forms within each show. This is going to be the telephone show. This is your form dictates the show dictates the form. And I just always really enjoyed thinking about, okay, the suggestion was deja vu. All right, we got to do a thing where we start over again as if we're replaying the show. That sort of, I don't know, fun, creative sort of takes on what you can do on stage.
Yeah.
So, and certain groups are a little more inclined to do stuff like that. There was a period where Reuben Williams was really pushing ourselves to mess with the form and really do no show that could be resembled in another one we've done. Really make them, like, we had one where I can't remember how it exactly got that way, but Joe Wengert sort of got singled out as a shy guy who would only edit the scene. It got really meta, and he never spoke. He would only edit, and by the end of the show, everyone was like encouraging Joe, you have to, Joe, we need you to speak. Come on, Joe, you got to do this for everyone. And like a single spotlight came down on him. The guy who was coaching us, Peter Gwynn, was in the booth and decided he'd heighten this, maybe overstepping the normal bounds of a director or coach, and got on the mic and said, Joe, this is Del Close, inventor of long-form improv. We need you to say something. And like led up to that point. So that was a show where like, well, didn't see that one going in. Didn't anticipate that happening.
That's
but we were really kind of pretentious about how like artsy and creative we were trying to be at the time. Now I think a lot of the same people would just be like, oh, let's go out and have fun and do whatever. But I think every improviser should go through their period where they treat it way too seriously and like really dissect the show they've just done and how they could have built the form a little more. Because I really did love it at the time, It was really cool doing something that you would look back on and go, oh, that was the water slide show. That was the, which we did. We once had, at the theater on 26th Street, when we first got in there, it was, below the supermarket, and there was some faulty plumbing that would sort of catch in these big like trash bags they would hang over the stage. So like little by little, they just started like, you know, getting fuller and fuller with this like, I don't know if it was fecal material, but it was like really shitty brown water.
Yeah.
And eventually, I think it was our first Saturday night show when we got moved to the weekend. One of those bags burst on stage, just like drenched the place. And we ended up turning it into a water slide, like sliding across. I mean, that's commitment when it's possibly shit you're sliding through.
Yeah.
But the scene called for it, so we all did it and then dealt with the dry cleaning the next day.
Yeah. It's so gross, but I admit doing a very similar thing. They had a keg on stage that for some reason, like the water and whatever was just kind of all over the stage. And that became, of course, the bit of like I was sliding through it repeatedly. And I was also remember like, I think I had just come from work or something and I was like dressed sort of nice. I was like, oh, these are like my good clothes. This is rough, but I got to do it.
Yep.
Kept doing it. Did like 5 times. Also in that show, I think 3 of us held each other's penises for like 5 minutes because that was part of it. These are real good, high quality.
Was this a Del Close marathon?
It wasn't. This was. I can tell you, this was a poorly attended show at like a non-name theater.
Wow.
And we really went for it.
You got to know when to choose your battles. And
You
that
know,
clearly was one.
I didn't have to do that. Looking back, I really didn't have to do that. I think I got molested. Okay. Okay, I like this. So part of that too is just like comes from playing with the form so much and like watching out for the bigger thing. Having the history of like maybe doing, I guess, pushing it. It's like,
knowing that there's other things you can do, other possibilities, and trusting that when you make one of those moves, everyone's going to be on the same page and go, oh, okay, I see what we're doing here.
That was a thing that I also particularly enjoyed about the Police Chief Rumble set. The one I saw, I was like, you guys did, I don't know what it was. You guys did this weird, I can't remember it now, but you're like weird manic people, and then everything froze, and you guys like all froze, and I was like, how did they all freeze at the same time? That was brilliant. But then like, we decided it was all Will McLaughlin's dream or something like that, and then all walked off stage or whatever. And I was like, damn, that was like the best ending of improv I've ever seen. That's awesome. I was so excited about that. But that's
hilarious.
I was like a trusting move, yeah.
Well, what you bill is like great trust. We could also bill as like we are selling Will out to dry. We've literally left him alone, not just off stage. We left the room.
Yeah, you
walked
left
downstairs. We're drinking beers downstairs.
Yeah.
Hopefully he has fun with it, which again is pure PCR.
Yeah.
But I'm glad it came off as a real moment of teamwork and trust.
I guess. I mean, that's true. Like any move like that can be seen as like a total. It's like the same kind of the same. Yeah, it's a pimping move. Anything. Yeah. You can be like, oh wow, that's so cool that they pulled that off and they managed to work. Or like, God, what an asshole.
Exactly. Hopefully a little of both. Yeah.
Yeah, a little.
I guess that again, when you know people for more than a decade, you can get away with that.
I guess with that one, I was impressed because Will did make it work. Whatever it was, he had like a real solid ending to it. Because I think like it started with everybody's like had like cool credits, and we were like, oh, everybody's doing so well, and Will McLaughlin's like doing. Like,
I think he called that out himself,
and he called it out, and it was like this thing, and then it turns into Will McLaughlin's dream that he gets to do this or something. I was like, oh fuck, that's like really came full circle. This is great.
Great.
This is good. I don't know. You say you also do like you basically just play with your friends too. Like it seems like the Smokes is like a friendly group. Like I feel like I've seen photos of you guys doing like the Disneyland half quarter whatever the hell it is. You do some event at Disneyland, the running thing, right?
We ran a half marathon. Ceci and I did that once. Yeah.
Okay. For some reason I thought it was all the Smokes. Apparently
we'll go to Bubba Gump's at Universal City Walk.
Pretty much the same.
Every year, we'll go see like go have a big chain restaurant dinner, and then go see like a movie at the IMAX there. Yeah. So I think we saw Final Destination one of those years, and then we saw Rock of Ages another time. The Bubba Gumps is the highlight. Getting those huge margaritas with the little Corona bottle dumped in is real improv team bonding.
Yeah, had a luxury there. Yeah. That's great. And it sounds like too for Police Chief Rumble, just I don't know, like it sounds like you guys are friends. You're hanging out 5 nights a week, right? Like in
the day, sure. I mean, that was like the closest bond I had because there was people we were doing improv with Everybody there wanted to work in comedy, so everybody was like super gung ho.
Yeah.
We were all writing sketch at the time too, so yeah, it was most of the time with these people. So hopefully you like them.
Yeah.
And we all did.
Is that important then for like improv? Like,
I think it helps. I think it's huge. I think, and that was a interesting case because that was a Herald team that was put together through auditions, and we just happened to, really enjoy each other's company. That which isn't always a given,
Yeah.
Sometimes you can be really mismatched, and people can try and like force friendship out of that. And I think most of the groups probably get along, but I'm sure there's instances where like, wow, those people just were not meant to be together.
Yeah.
I think you can find it. Ideally, if you're going to spend that much time together, I think it should be with a group you've put together of your own, people who have the same sensibility. And again, that's where that group Reuben Williams came out of. We were all performing on Herald Night already, but we wanted to do more with people who sort of, had the same aspirations of pushing the form and doing really good improv and really trying to expand. So it was, all right, these people are all on the same page. Let's start doing something. And then we eventually made a team together.
Okay.
And then started performing on Saturday nights, and that shows.
So this was a weekend team then. That's what it went to. Okay.
New York.
I thought for some reason Reuben Williams was the Herald team.
It started as we actually led to the breakup of all our respective Herald teams.
Okay.
Because we all put this group together on the side, and we were doing like indie shows at the Under St. Mark's Theater in New York on Friday nights with this group Rogue Elephant that Susanna was in at the time.
Yeah.
So we had a show that was fun, and it was just, let's get together and do more improv, because you only got to do so many Heralds in a month. So at the time, indie shows were still sort of a little bit rare, and that was like one that was pretty prominent.
Yeah.
And then there was a regime change at the theater, and Anthony King became artistic director, and they wanted to make Reuben Williams an official Herald team. But it meant breaking up. We all had to leave our other teams at the time. So like me and Katie Dipple were on PCR. Yeah. It was really tough because we loved PCR, but we really wanted to, like, I told you, the improv we did with Steve Rumble was, when it had reached its ceiling of, very low. and we, as much as we love those guys, we wanted to, keep working and trying hard. And so everybody made the choice to make Reuben Williams the full-time group.
Yeah.
So 4 Herald teams ended up getting, like, shifted around or broken up, and I'm sure we weren't too popular at the time, but we were all pleased with the group that came out of it. Yeah. So we did Herald Night for a year, and then got graduated up to Saturday nights and did that show forever.
Yeah.
I moved out here in 2007, and they still were doing it for, God, I guess 5 years after that. They just recently changed their name to the Curfew in New York, and that show is still going on Saturday nights.
You started a dynasty. An improv dynasty.
Yeah, man.
Okay. Let's want to just ask some like weird basics. What's a good start? What's a good like initiating line if where you have no opening? And I say that because I feel like I see you do a lot of good ones of just like out of nowhere. I'm like, it's pretty funny.
They're probably at a sandwich shop of some kind where I'm looking over the menu then and going, hey, what's on the so I'm asking a question in a transactional environment. So
I did that the other night and I got called out real hard by a coach. I was like, Jesus, I'm sorry.
I think that's a little overrated now. I mean, I think it is a good rule to teach early on.
Yeah.
I think you can still have fine scenes.
Yeah.
Shopping for something, just don't make it about the socks you're buying,
Yeah.
Use that as your in. Like, I do start a lot of scenes as a customer or...
Let's open that. Is that all right? Yeah. All right, you can keep going. Sorry. Customer.
Sure.
Customer, come here. What the hell? Freaking me out on me, man. Oh, all right, get off here. Go over there. Here, you come in here or something. All right. No, I'm not going to do that. Well.
It'll be fine.
All right, I'm sorry. Sorry. Yeah, starting off in transactional scenes, those like customers and stuff. Yeah, I think you're right. It's like that's an opening, like a way to connect to somebody more than like the like actual transaction.
Yeah, it's a setting or experience that you get. You establish where you are, who you are very clearly.
Yeah.
Just don't make it about the thing.
Yeah.
Recognize the clerk. Hey man, didn't you go to Kenwood High? I don't. Yeah, man, you were that guy.
That classic move.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's always like, and it feels so cliche, but it is a little bit helpful to make it slightly more invested in the situation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Or talk about why you need these socks. I'm trying to.
Yeah.
I'm trying to date this girl, and she's got a kid, and I think this is really gonna put me over the head.
I think this is really gonna get me up. Grace, come on, man. Oh, we can't do this. He's such a monster dog. All right, we'll wrap. We'll wrap pretty quick here.
Yeah.
Nice and easy. If I give you food, will that make you stop? If I give you food.
I know what it's like. I've got our 3-month-old at home who
barks a lot.
Yeah.
Uh,
So I think, like, starting in some place that's just a, benign. If there's no opening, there's nothing you're going off of. I'd look to, a simple place or experience that everybody can, like, understand right from the jump.
Yeah, that's. I feel like that's always a good, especially for no opening. It's just keep it real simple.
Yeah.
We can worry about getting more complicated later scenes or whatever.
Yeah, hopefully you both treat it like normal people.
Yeah.
Talk normally, and then something's gonna come up that makes you go, wait, sorry, what? And then you can build your pattern.
Yeah. My default for a lot of that is my default for when I don't have an idea is just pulling out 2 chairs and then sitting down and then does this feel more like an office thing or a dining thing? And I'll go
Great.
all right, that's fine.
No problem.
We'll
Love
make it work there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so then how about this? If you're doing, I guess Smokes doesn't do a lot of premise stuff, huh? Or at least I feel like I don't see you guys do it very much.
I mean, because we don't do any kind of set opening.
Yeah.
So we're not really pulling, we'll get the suggestion and pull 3 different premises just off of that word.
Yeah.
So sometimes you get like, oh, I see where that's coming from, and I was on the same page. Basically, there's, different meaning for that I also was going to do something in the area with. So
right.
It can be pseudo premise based, but we're not doing any kind of information getting. Yeah.
Like game. Yeah. Well, I guess then we'll say this. Like, when you were doing that type of thing, like, what's a premise that attracts you? Like, what? I guess because if we're like, I'm thinking like pattern game or stuff like that. I guess they're all kind of created. We all kind of know what's out there. But also sometimes there's like side things. I feel like that's maybe a style, a little bit of a style thing. Is like you see how people pull the normal ones that are very clear, but then there's this like, oh, you pick up a side thing. I don't know. So again, these are like weird questions, but like, what is it? What's the premise that'll like attract you? Like, what is there? Oh, that's a tough question, and I'm realizing how hard it is to answer.
No, I know you're saying without doing an opening.
Yeah, right.
And going,
this is like an impossible question. I guess like, is there a particular type of dynamic or like type of comedy or thing that like attract? Yeah.
I think I often enjoy something that leads itself to a character choice.
Yeah.
When you can go, oh, that was a funny detail. How we came up with the denial thing. There could probably be a character that is, in deep denial about whatever. And then either that's something that, then you go through the process, all right, can I be the character who's in denial about the Bachelor finale?
Yeah.
Is that something that, okay, this is a crazy premise. I'm going to be the guy who just will not believe that the Bachelor chose whomever. Like, I'm going to treat it with the zealousy of a, religious fanatic that's not right and it's wrong that Juan Pablo chose Nikki, and there's no world in which this exists. I refuse to believe this. All right, that's probably too much to lay on Joe Wengert. I can't go, hey man, he chose Nick. Like, there's gonna be too many things you have to assume they'll know, they'll understand.
Right.
You're like, all right, well, this is one I got to do myself. All right, I'm also in the problem here that I could establish this and no one's gonna know what the fuck I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Well, maybe it's not worth doing. And then these are all the thoughts going through your head in that millisecond before you initiate.
Sure.
So sometimes it's like, all right, that was way too complicated, not worth doing. Is there something that lends itself to a more simple, this guy walks like this because of that thing we mentioned in the opening?
Yeah.
And I do like simple physical things. For as much as I, do write and try and write to the top of my intelligence, I do like a guy who talks funny, walks with, leads with his gut or something. Like, just picking a simple physical choice like that. So if it's something that I can either establish as somebody, like a character, like, hey man, you're a crazy Cajun riverboat guy.
Yeah.
Which Billy's going to be like, thank you for that gift.
This is the best day.
This is the best day ever. Or, yeah, is it something that I can do on my own? And I do like playing characters. I don't think I would be known around the theater as a master of 1,000 faces, but I do like...
No, I see you default into that. Yeah, or like hop into that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, and like, as... I wouldn't say like the theater is collectively against it or whatever, but I guess it's not like as highly valued as it is at other theaters, like Second City. You're like, you're a fucking hero. Thank you for doing that. But it is like it's a solid like fun choice, and there's it keeps things going and nothing else, it gives you something to do.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm up here for 55 minutes. I gotta fucking fill the time somehow.
I get bored. I need to be silly characters.
Yeah.
Again, this is me speaking about improv. I have no business doing it. I love it. All right. Then, let's see. One last thing. Then, so you've been doing. So now you do improv. You've been doing it for at least a decade.
Yeah.
Or more than at least 12 years. How does it like fit into your life? Like, I mean, how do you see it? I'm curious.
That's a great question. It definitely is changing. Those first couple of years when I was in my early 20s working a shitty day job in New York, that's all I wanted to do, and I wanted to talk about it at McManus. I wanted to. I mean, we would go on Instant Messenger at our shitty day jobs and do improv forums in like a chat room, like me, Charlie Todd. Eric Scott would go into like the Instant Messenger group chat and do like a tracers. I mean, this is again indictment of how bad I was at my day job that I was doing this while I was supposed to be working.
Yeah.
But like we were super consumed by it, And then would I do that now? God no.
Yeah.
I can think. God no. We don't even talk about our. I mean, we'll get off stage and be like, oh, that was fun. I really like that. Or I wanted to do this. Oh, that'd have been great.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to Birds. I
Yeah.
mean, that's how much we devote to it. Whereas in the Reuben Williams days, we'd go back in the back hallway of UCB and dissect like every single scene of it could have been better this way. We could have done this. Why didn't we see this? Like beat ourselves up over it.
Yeah.
And now we look back and it's like, wow, why were we so serious? It was just improv. But I think you do have to go through that phase where it is the most important thing.
Yeah.
And it's not that anymore. I do it because it's a blast seeing my friends, breaking. I mean, I took such pride in never breaking on stage.
Yeah.
And really committing. And now we openly laugh. And it's like, it is just a thing of getting older and not seeing it as the end all and be all. It is just a fun weekly diversion where you get to like be silly, make each other laugh. I love it,
Yeah.
But if it went away, it would be like, oh, that was a bummer. I wouldn't be, personally devastated. Because we do, like now that we've got a kid, it's like, oh boy, I hope we can keep doing this.
Yeah.
But okay, our priorities, we might have to value this other human life more than our...
I don't know.
I don't know, we'll see. Yeah, I mean, he hasn't really done much yet, so...
Yeah, I mean, we've got it. Till 6 or so. Not much attention, I think.
Yeah. But I would like to continue doing it. I mean, it's given improv, I'll put it this way, like, to get sappy, like, it's given me the career I have, it's given me the wife I have, the baby we have. It's crazy. Like, all my close friends, they're all from UCB, they're all from this world, so whether or not we're actually performing, it's still a part of our life.
Yeah, that improvised sex scene you guys did on stage
led to a real baby.
Well, that was crazy.
That's the commitment we're talking about.
It was good. It
was
just, congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah,
we all feel like we were kind of part of it. Okay, let's charge forward to the last bit of the show. This is the Pearls of Wisdom segment. This is a classic segment on the show. It's very important that I always say that. A note or a piece of advice or feedback you got on improv that you thought was impactful or helpful for you? Something maybe that stuck.
Aside from the initial thing of, hey man, you got to speak up.
Yeah.
Which, hey,
that's great.
It's a great note. I still wonder, like, I think I've overcome that, but like, I'm occasionally struck, like, oh, am I still? Because I've got a low voice too. I feel like it might just dissipate,
Yeah.
So I do.
Bass doesn't travel.
It does not. Yeah, exactly. So I'm going to go with project, and probably, when in doubt, go a little louder. It'll make you at least seem more confident in your idea, whether or not you are.
Yeah.
I will take that note on Monday. I will use this.
That's great.
My own note.
I love it. That's fantastic. All right, Chris, is there anything that you want to plug or share with the world before we call it an episode?
Come out, see the Smokes on Monday nights at 7, or at Bubba Gump's in the near future.
Yeah.
We'll probably be there.
We're all going? Are we all going to Bubba Gump's?
We're all going. We're all going to get some Captain Dan's scrambled fish fry platter, or it's Lieutenant Dan's, right? Yeah, Lieutenant Dan's. It's
is that a promote? Maybe it got promoted. I don't know.
Yeah, let's hope.
I think that's. I need to learn my military ranks. These are. That's also sometimes things I think about. I'm like, I need to learn this type of thing for improv.
Absolutely.
Maybe this will come up, and I want to get it right.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good. Oh, that's a good piece. That's a good piece of advice. Like, read a lot and store things away, just so whether you don't actually know them, you can fake like you do.
Yeah.
And I feel that's good to like have a good understanding of. All right, here were some original X-Men. It's probably going to come up in improv scenes. We know who our demo is. But also know, a couple songs off Michael Jackson's "Off the Wall." Like, it'll probably help you out. Just,
the full repertoire of improv scenes.
Those are the two spectrums.
Original X-Men and Michael Jackson's "Off the Wall." All right, Chris. Well, thank you so much for being on the show.
My pleasure. Thank you.
All right. Oh, that's great, dude. Thank you so much for this.
Of course, my pleasure.
Great.